capacity, what it is, what it isn't, and why everything breaks without it. We talk a lot about burnout, resilience, performance, leadership, trauma, and growth. But here's the truth that no one says out loud. Most people aren't failing because they lack skill, discipline, or motivation. They're failing because they're operating outside of their capacity, and nobody has ever taught them how to assess it. So before we talk about building more, doing more, or leading better, we need to slow this down and get precise. We need to get into the nitty-gritty. Because if you don't understand capacity, you will mislabel exhaustion as weakness, shutdown as avoidance, and overwhelm as being incompetent. So this episode sets out to set the foundation. From here on out, when I say capacity, you'll know exactly what I mean when I use that word. When I talk about capacity, I'm not talking about time management. I'm not talking about productivity hacks, and I'm definitely not talking about just pushing through and just handling it. Capacity at its core is the nervous system's ability to meet the demands that are being placed on it without destabilizing, so becoming all like emotionally dysregulated, big up and downs, things like that. Fragmenting, so feeling like we're one way here, and there's no integration of who we are across places and spaces. Or just shutting down, numbing out, disconnecting. And here's the problem. Most systems, whether that's workplaces, home life, leadership cultures, educational institutions, or even therapy, assume capacity instead of assessing it. And that assumption is where burnout is often born. So capacity is not static. It is state dependent, context dependent, and cumulative over time. Capacity is the intersection of emotional bandwidth, cognitive load, physiological reaction and regulation, psychological safety, and available recovery. When one of those is compromised, the person's total capacity drops, even if everything looks fine on paper. So high performers often look super capable long after their internal capacity is gone or very depleted. It's not strength, it's actually compensation, and I would even say overcompensation. Capacity isn't about how much you can do, it's about how much you can sustain over time without cost. That's the key piece. What is the cost that this is taking from you? What capacity is not? So let's clear up some common mislabels. Capacity is not resilience, it's not willpower, it's not tolerance, and it's not just handling it or not handling it. You can tolerate something far beyond your capacity, but tolerance always comes at a price. It's just a matter of what that price is. Sometimes it's irritability, sometimes it's emotional numbing or big emotional swings, sometimes it's being really reactive, disconnected emotionally, socially, romantically, platonically, or sometimes just eventual collapse where you're like, I'm done, I can't manage, I can't cope, and sometimes people can't even get out of bed. When people say I can't handle it, what they often mean is, oh, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I have reached my capacity, I have surpassed my capacity. When they say I can handle it, it often means I just haven't fallen apart yet. And that should not be the benchmark. So what does it look like when capacity is exceeded? So when somebody is operating outside of their capacity, it doesn't always look dramatic. You would not necessarily know. There's a bunch of common signs. So having a shorter fuse, being more irritable, being more emotionally flat. You're having a conversation with them and it's like nobody's home. Yes, no, there's no change in their vocal intonation or what's happening for them. It's like they're asleep inside. Brain fog, decision fatigue. This can often look like, hey, what do you want to have for dinner? I don't know. I just can't even make a decision right now. That is a sign of decision fatigue. As well as memory gaps. What did you do today? No idea. I know that I did things, I know that I was at work, I know that I got my stuff done, but I couldn't actually tell you what I did. Avoidance disguised as procrastination. So I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. Actually, they're avoiding it because the idea of doing it feels so overwhelming and pushes people outside of their capacity. Sometimes it's hyper productivity followed by shutdown. I'm going to go, and then all of a sudden I crash and I can't function. Increased conflict or withdrawal. We see this a lot in relationship dynamics. When people have reached their capacity or surpassed their capacity, they withdraw from their romantic partner, their family, and they just kind of shut down and disengage. Their partner, their family shows up and goes, "What's going on? Why are you disengaging? I need you to show up for me." And then conflict happens. Sometimes there's a lot of increased conflict in relationships. Somatic symptoms without a clear cause. These could be things like, I keep getting migraines or stomach aches, or just so much muscle tension, or my jaw's so tight or clicking, or things like muscle aches, pains, fatigue that don't really have an explanation. And this is where often leaders and clinicians, therapists, get it wrong. We often try to correct the behavior instead of adjusting the demand that has been placed upon the person. That is key for us. And the nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to load. So when we think about how capacity is missed in leadership, in clinical work, in culture, most places reward output, not regulation. We sit there as business owners and we go, okay, well, what are our KPIs? What are our numbers? What are things looking like? We want to see how people are showing up, and we want to see the numbers and the output that they're giving us. We want to see the results. However, that often comes, and more often than not, comes at a high cost because people are tolerating it. They're not within their capacity anymore, and tolerance, like I said, comes at a cost. So we are looking for output. We're not looking for regulation, as many leaders, business owners, and even clinicians. So capacity violations, right? That's what this is, get mislabeled as somebody having a poor attitude. They show up and they're super grouchy and creating toxic work environments, and there's a lack of buy-in on what's happening. There's performance issues. They might have been an excellent performer and now they're mediocre at best. Sometimes they're not even mediocre. They're poor. They're showing up late, or they're not showing up at all. Or when they do show up, they're disengaged. They're in meetings, but they're not actively participating. We see, as we're trying to grow our companies and grow our businesses, grow our practices, sometimes what we see is this resistance to change. It's not necessarily that they don't want to see that growth or those changes. It's just the current space that they're in. They can't even comprehend all of the pieces that this change is going to take for it to happen. So it will often show up as resistance to change. What's actually happening, though, is that the system is asking for more than the person's current capacity can safely deliver. So the things that we mislabel as capacity violations, right? It's not actually a capacity thing. We are showing them that what we're asking for, it far exceeds what they can offer us. It's not a motivation problem at the end of the day, it's a systems problem. And when we look at healthy leadership, and not enabling leadership, but healthy leadership, it doesn't necessarily demand more, but it recalibrates differently so we can work with people within their capacities so we actually can get the best performance out of them long term. How to assess capacity. This is something that I have to do on a regular basis for myself, for my team, with clients, with other people that I work with in coaching capacities. And it's one of the questions I get asked often. So capacity assessment isn't necessarily complicated, but it's intentional. So there's a couple questions to ask. So what is being demanded right now? So emotionally, cognitively, relationally, operationally, what are the demands for the person right now? And we're not just asking about right here in their role at work. We're also asking, What's happening at home? What's happening in their relationships? What's happening with their kids? What's happening with their health? Because all of those pieces are demanding something from them. What is the person's current regulation state? Are they calm? Are they activated? Are they like vibrating? They walk into a room and you're like, oh my gosh, I can feel them vibrating from across the room. Are they really reactive? Are they shut down? Are they completely disconnected? Or are they so overloaded that they feel like they're spinning, but they're not actually getting anything done? What recovery is actually available? Not theoretically, but practically. Where can some of the load come off of their plate at home, with family, with partner, with work? What does this look like? So what does recovery actually look like for them? Or what could it look like? And what else is drawing from their capacity that's not being named or acknowledged necessarily? Things like financial stress, life stress, parents maybe who are elderly or who are experiencing some cognitive decline, or they're looking at putting them into nursing care, or are they caring for parents at home and caring for their own kids? What's their trauma load? What's the leadership pressure that we as leaders are putting on them? What about identity strain? Are they in a place in their life where they're going, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want, I don't know if I want to do a career change or a life change, or I just don't even know what's going on right now? Is the demand acute or chronic? Is it short-term or is it long-term? Because capacity collapses under chronic strain. So even if each individual demand seems reasonable, we're like, oh, well, this is the start and the finish of the project, and then the start and the finish of the project, and the start and the finish. But that can create chronic strain. So chronic strain actually depletes capacity significantly. Capacity isn't assessed by output, it's assessed by the cost that it takes for that output. So why this matters for everything that comes next. So every future conversation we have about leadership, trauma, growth, therapy, emotional intelligence, burnout, boundaries, everything in between depends on this concept. So when I use the word capacity, now you know what I mean. If capacity isn't assessed, growth becomes pressure, accountability becomes threat, feedback becomes injury, expectations become completely destabilizing. But when capacity is respected as leaders and for our team, performance stabilizes, retention improves, trust increases, and systems actually work because our teams know that we have their back at the end of the day. So here's what I want you to take away from here. Before asking, why isn't this working? Ask yourself, is this within capacity? And maybe ask your team, is this within your capacity? And have the conversation with them around what capacity actually is, so this way you are all working from the same operational definition. Before pushing harder, ask what's the load and what's the recovery. Capacity is not an excuse, it's a constraint. And every intelligent system works within its constraints. So in future episodes, when we talk about expanding capacity, protecting capacity, designing systems around it, I want you to have this idea of what capacity actually means. So this way we are working from the same operational definition. Because ignoring capacity doesn't make you stronger. It just makes the crash inevitable. It's just a matter of time. So when we think about capacity isn't about doing more. It's about knowing what your system can sustain, and everything else is just noise in the background.